make sure everybody can hear us good. I'm sure they can, but I'll double check. Hey, folks out there, Sports Talk Jay talking to you. I got my friend here, Kevin Gentry. We're going to introduce him here in just a second. I just want to make sure everybody can hear us good. Kevin, if you don't care to speak, and that way they can make sure they hear you good out there.
Hey, guys, this is Kevin. I appreciate Sports Talk Jay having me on tonight. If you can hear me, let me know.
They'll let us know here in just a second. We're definitely live.
Okay.
There's Johnny, Kelly. See a lot of folks in there. Stingray. Let's see. There's Johnny. I said, I'm not going to be late and miss one. I know he's in here. Let's see. But anyway, let's see. Puppy Dog, can y'all hear? See, yeah, he says, I see you. Okay. Just double checking everything. All right, folks. This is Kevin Gentry. And the reason I invited him on here, this was, I guess it was 3 weeks ago, maybe 4. He had sent me a logo and said, hey, I'm a fan of your show. And I wanted to send you this logo that I put together. And it was really good. I mean, it kind of shocked me how good it was. And I was like, this is, I did not expect it to be to that level. And then it wasn't a day or 2 or 3 later, he sent me an intro, which was about it was 18 seconds, I think. And it was like next level good. And I was like, okay, this is not your average dude that sent me this stuff. So I contacted him, and I think we talked on the phone, and then I found out quite a bit about him. He was an architect, and he had gone to UT. He was a UT alum, and I'll let you tell him all about that. But anyway, I did want to play these intros for you. So you and I know a lot of you have seen these, but yeah, here, I'll actually play these now. Let me go ahead and start with mine that he did for me. And many of you will recognize this very quickly. Let's see, YouTube, pull this up. Yeah, here it is. All right, we'll play it here. All right, so that was the first one. And later on, he did a couple of really cool videos for BVD, which was very kind of him to do. And BVD really appreciated it. I can tell you that for a fact. And I'm going to pull that one up as well. And let's see, present. And he did one for him for his high school, which I've never seen one done for a high school on this level. So let's see here. I may have to go back here a little bit. Let's see. I'm trying to remember how I did that. Ah, crap. All right, I'll have to pull it up here in just a second. Darn it. Hold on. I'll do it the easy way. Sorry about that, folks. I am not the greatest expert on this stuff.
Well, that's part of what we're here to talk about. It's making the grassroots guys look good. So,
all right, I'm going to start out with his UT one. I got to get through this little commercial here. 1 second, it'll be done. All right, and now I'm going to play it for you. And let's see. Yeah, this one's really cool. I think you'll enjoy this one. On it. Ah. I'll do it again.
Now, as you guys know,
14 to the 12, to the 15, to the 20, to the 25, to the 30, to the 35, to the 40, to the 45, to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, to the 30, to the...
All right, y'all going to get mad at me, but I finally got it. Sorry.
To the 30, to the 35, to the 40, to the 45, to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, to the 30, to the 25, to the 20, to the 15, to the 10, to the 5. It is a touchdown! Big Orange!
All right, so that was that one.
You guys know.
Let me go in here and stop this one.
Tonight, August the 20th.
and get us back here. And like I said, I just wanted to kind of give you folks an idea of kind of how Kevin Gentry kind of came into this situation and kind of some of what he does. And anyway, that's kind of how it all started. But anyway, it turns out he is an alum of UT. He actually graduated as an architect over there. He actually worked at Gibbs Hall, where I was there as an athlete. I was a golfer, so I was not recognizable in the slightest. I was like 150 pounds and probably didn't look like I fit in there very well. And I'm not sure if we crossed paths there ever, because he's 2 years younger than me, but we might have. Now, we wouldn't have known each other back then. But anyway, I thought I would let him tell you a little bit of his history at UT. And, of course, he's a huge Vols fan like the rest of us. And believe me, we're going to talk about the game coming up. We're going to talk about the Vols. But just wanted to give a little intro to this guy so you understand where he's coming from.
Well, Jay, I call you Jay. I know your name's John, so I apologize. It's just force of habit. But I appreciate you having me on the show today. We've kind of been working on this for a little while, so a long time coming. And again, thank you. I'm originally from Asheville, North Carolina. Grew up in Western North Carolina my whole life. Went to the University of Tennessee from 1987 to 92. Graduated from the College of Architecture and Design, and kind of went on maybe a 10, 15, 20-year tour of the United States, living in different places like Atlanta, Indianapolis, Washington, D.C. I moved back to Asheville. I had my own architecture firm there for the better part of 20, 25 years. At that time, I met my wife, Rhonda. She's originally from Texas, but was living in Asheville. Long story short, the older you get, you kind of want to change priorities a little bit. And she and I talked about moving to Texas about 10 years ago, and it took us literally about 8 more years to make it happen. We are currently living in Dallas, so I'm on Central Time, and I practiced architecture for all of that time, and at some point decided to branch out and do quite a few other things. So I'm a licensed commercial general contractor, licensed public utility contractor, licensed real estate agent, and I know we're here to talk about graphics, so I'll throw that in the mix too. I kind of self-taught and those types of things. I've literally been doing graphics since 1990. Well, I started in college, to be honest, but kind of really gained some momentum after computers became better and stuff like Adobe Photoshop became more powerful, and so on. And over the years, I've helped many friends who started businesses to market their businesses. I've designed about 6 million logos, and so just a real big interest in mine. I stumble across channels such as Sports Talk Jay, and I love the grassroots movement. I love the do-it-yourself things like BVD and Talking Vols, Boogie Bentley and those guys do. I've actually got some stuff going on for Boogie. He doesn't even know it, so I guess the cat's out of the bag a little bit. But I'll surprise him just like I did Jay and BVD. I knew when I sent the stuff to Jay that he was like, who in the heck is this guy? And sometimes people don't even know how to react to it. I could kind of tell that Jay was like, what do I do with this? So through a few emails, I've guided these guys. Ultimately, I just look at stuff like that and I say, I can help this guy. You can get behind a microphone and have the talents these guys do, but you can't do everything. And so I just occasionally I pick people and surprise them with stuff like that. I know it helps. And then if nothing else, it kind of teaches you that you can elevate your channel. So that's the gist of it. I love doing it, and will help people. I mean, I do. It is a revenue stream for me, but occasionally I'll jump in and help people.
Okay. So anyway, we just a little intro there of Kevin and what he's done for myself, BVD, and sounds like he's getting something done for Boogie, and I think Boogie will appreciate that. But we were going to talk about the Vols. Of course, we've got the big game coming up with Virginia this week, and we're only, my gosh, 4 days away. It's going to be at 12 o'clock. Virginia's not a very good team right now. They only won 3 games last year. They were 3-7. They had the terrible ending of the year. and kind of just a tragic ending. And they're getting their football program back rolling again. And this is a very difficult game for them. To have to come to Nashville and play the hottest offense in the country is a daunting task. And I don't think they're going to be anywhere near ready to handle the speed of our offense and our running backs. I think they're going to do well. And I think the wide receivers, if they get loose and Joe Milton hits them, it could get ugly quick with that offense.
Yeah, it could. I will say that maybe this is just a little bit of my own version of the battered Vol syndrome, but I can't look past anybody. And I've heard a lot of the media talking heads talking about this game is going to be just a non-issue. It's not that I don't believe it. We've seen the bad days. And anything can happen. Look at Texas A&M game 1 last year. That was a little bit of a shock. And so I'm going to support these guys. This is going to, in my opinion, I'm more excited about 2023 than any season that I can remember, including 1998. And so I'm so excited to get the season started. And I'm really behind Joe Milton and a bunch of these other guys, Beasley and Arian Carter and Squirrel White. It's just really going to be a blast.
Yeah. This is it is super exciting. And of course, behind him, you've got the number 1 player in the country in Nico. And the future, I hate to be such a sunshine pumper on this, but I could not feel better about the Vols. And it's been a long time. I'm almost over the battered Vol syndrome, almost.
Right.
I feel like I'm almost fully recovered. Last year was such a huge relief, but I love 2021. That was a fantastic year and a shocking year when I saw that offense for the first time, and we jumped on South Carolina up 4 touchdowns like in the first quarter and a half, up 4 touchdowns on Missouri in the first quarter. And I'm going, what in the world is happening right now? This is crazy good. And it kept happening. And I know Joe struggled against Pittsburgh in that first game. We should have been up on them 3 touchdowns. And he was overthrowing. He didn't really understand the system, I don't think, fully. But then Hendon came in and was just tremendous for 2 years until he got hurt. But Joe looks to be a different guy out there. That Clemson game showed me a lot because he was under tremendous pressure. That was 8 million people watching him. His entire family was there, all his friends in his home state.
And he played well. I was at that game. I was in Miami for that game, and I was really anxious for that too because it's a big moment for Joe. And of course, we got to walk away with not just a win, but a really great win. And I know that wasn't the Clemson that everybody's used to seeing, but I can't say it enough. Tennessee was very confident on that field. They looked good, so I'm hoping for a lot more of that this year. I really, the Squirrel White, Joe Milton connection, both personally and on the field, I think it's going to be dynamic.
Yeah, the Squirrel White combo, they're so comfortable with each other, and that's why it didn't shock me that he went to him a lot. Because, he was kind of the backup quarterback. Well, he was a backup quarterback, and Squirrel was the second string. So all those guys that he was used to throwing to were there and available in that game because we had 2 wide receivers that were out and, of course, our quarterback. So it was sort of like what he was used to. Now, Squirrel, I think, is a matchup nightmare for anybody. His stature and that speed that he has, I don't know how you stay with him. And then on the outside, we're going to have Dante Thornton, who is extremely fast, 6'5". That is a terrible matchup problem as well. I don't see somebody stopping that. And if Joe hits him, it's touchdown. It's going to be a touchdown.
Yeah, and in my opinion, South Carolina fans don't like to hear this, but South Carolina just hit the perfect timing for when Tennessee was having locker room problems, and we had a bad game. They beat us fair and square, but in long story short, it was a terrible showing on Tennessee's part as well. So if you could kind of put that as an outlier type of loss, and then you looked at the Georgia loss Well, everybody lost to Georgia last year, so I don't think that was a big surprise. We were certainly hoping for a better outcome than that. But and Georgia fans like to say that they just curb stomped us. Well, Jay, they did not curb stomp us. I mean, it was a 14-point game, and we didn't look great. We weren't on our best, but look, they're a fantastic team. But if you put all that together, Tennessee's a fantastic team too. And I know that people say, well, this is the telltale year. 2023 is that either you guys are a fluke or it's real. And I truly, battered Vols syndrome or not, I truly believe this is going to be a fantastic year. I think we're going to come out and show that it's all about Coach Heupel. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to get a hold of these guys, get them in line, and produce.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. Crawdad, thank you, buddy. The defensive line for the Falls will determine the South Carolina game. That's reasonable. I think it may very well be the defensive backfield. I know we're going to be better in the backfield because we have depth. We had no depth last year in the defensive backs. It was whoever we could put out there. I mean, we wound up with a third string guy against Alabama at one point, and it just and against Bryce Young, who was just a magician out there. That guy, I never seen anything to equal it. He was
my justification for our defense this year. I can't honestly tell you that I've been following enough to know exactly how we've grown. A lot of the media talking heads, yourself included, have followed that a lot closer. But here's the way I look at it. Well, Jay, we can't possibly get any worse than last. Like we were nearly last in all of college football for how terrible our defense was. So I'm just going to chalk it up to say, well, Coach Heupel is not going to have any of that. I don't necessarily think he's the Lincoln Riley of the SEC, and meaning that Lincoln Riley can never bring defense to the table. I think Coach Heupel can. Will it be a Kirby Smart level defense? No. But I think, even if we were to improve and be in middle of the pack in terms of college football, to me, that translates to at least a win over South Carolina.
Yeah. Our defense will be better. And I think it's important to realize in 21, we were tragic at defense. I mean, we couldn't stop the run. We couldn't stop the pass. In 22, we could stop the run. We were able, like Kentucky couldn't run against us like they did the year before. And that made, it kept us in a lot of ball games that the year before we get blown out and then we just have to try to outscore them. But our secondary did not improve, and that was the problem. But we went from 29.1 points to 22.7. It was almost a 7-point improvement from 21 to 22 on our defense, which I thought was terrific as far as points scored against us. We were still giving up a lot of yards, though, and I think what happened was a lot of the offenses realized, well, we're not able to run against them, but we can sure as crap pass against them. So we're just going to wear them out, and they did. We just didn't have the hosses back there. And even though our defensive line was able to stop the run, they didn't quite put enough pressure on the quarterback either.
Right. Well, it was funny you mentioned that because I was just talking to my sister last night and today. She's a Tennessee fan as well. And recently she's really, really gotten into the football. But we were talking about both 21 and even some of 22. We really got tired of watching quarterbacks do screen pass 10, 15 yards and just march down the field while our secondary was asleep, I guess. I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, it's a partially a lack of talent, partially injury, and a lot of things along those lines. Now, they brought in 4 good quality cornerbacks this year. 3 are going to be freshmen. I realize that, but 2 of them are highly touted. And the third guy was the number 1 athlete in the state of Kentucky, which is Conyers. So I feel good about those guys for the future, and we may see a couple of them anyway because they've got serious skill. But they also brought in a veteran in Gabe Judy-Lawley from BYU, who is a quality cornerback. And on top of that, we've got some guys that got better. So I'm looking for a significant improvement from the secondary, and I'm confident that the defensive line will continue to be solid. So if we improve there, that should help a lot.
They've got to be really good, and I hope they're ready because the first monkey we've got to get off our back is in the swamp.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes, that swamp. That swamp is huge. That's the key to the first half of the season. And really, I thought that was a linchpin game for us last year because psychologically we needed that monkey off our back, and we got rid of it. And then granted, even though they almost came back at the tail end because Anthony Richardson put on his Superman cape and flew all over the field till he finally fumbled. God, he played a game like you couldn't believe.
Right.
So, and that game's probably what got him picked fourth in the first round. They saw that and went, okay, this guy's got skills.
I saw Uncle Lou. Is that the Uncle Lou?
That's the Uncle Lou.
Hey, Uncle Lou, I watch you sometimes. Nice channel you got there. We'll bark at you in a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly who that is. But yeah, he likes to kind of hang around in different places and kind of see what's going on.
Yeah, well, that's what you got to do. He said Tennessee makes Richardson and Rattler look like Hall of Famers. Yeah, in those games, I can't argue with that.
Yeah. Well, we saved Rattler's career. That guy was the worst quarterback rating in the SEC. Then he threw 6 touchdowns against us, and all of a sudden, he couldn't mess up. Yeah.
Well, when your defense really doesn't get off the bus, congratulations, Spencer.
Yeah, and so they were asking for scores, and I've been thinking a lot about scores. I do not think that the Tennessee defense is going to allow a lot of points in this game against Virginia. I think they've been hearing all season that they were the problem, they're the problem, and I think it's gotten their dander up. And we saw a bit of that against Vanderbilt after the South Carolina game. They were not going to let Vanderbilt score a point. They were going to make a statement in that game. And then even Clemson, they held them up to what? I think it was 14 or 17 points they scored. So, I think they really got their back up because they got tired of being blamed. So the other thing is we're not going to score as many points this year because nobody is. With this new rule change of not having the timeouts after the first downs, that's going to cost both teams a series. So you're going to probably score 10% less, or at least 7 or 8% less, because the games are going to be quicker and that clock's just going to be running. And I'm not a huge fan of that, but it is what it is. So I'm going 41-10 with a 31-point victory, and I think that's where we'll be. I don't think we're going to score much more than that because the time's just not going to be there for us.
I'm really hoping that Tennessee is even better than 10 points. I think we don't allow them to get to 10 points, so I'm going to go with like 28-7. Okay,
28. I think we'll score more than that. I think we'll at least get to 31. Come on.
No, it's not. No. It's not about that. I to be honest, even though I don't think it's a good idea to put Nico on the field. Look, we've had a bad history with injuries, unless so I'm thinking if we get that far away, maybe Nico can take some snaps. I don't know.
That's a good idea. I think we'll definitely see Nico in that game. I think we'll see him probably late third quarter, if I had to guess. Just based on what I expect. And I also think we're going to see Gaston Moore in the fourth quarter, because Gaston Moore is a quality quarterback that a lot of people don't realize. He looked good in that spring game, and I can tell you Heupel's got confidence in that guy, and he understands the system probably better than anybody there other than Heupel and the offensive coordinator. Right. So
did you see the video the other day of Nico and Josh Dobbs and Joe Milton all standing in the practice facility throwing the balls at the goalpost?
No, I did not.
Every single one of them hit the goalpost first try, except for Nico, and he had to run sprints because of it. Anyway, this is kind of funny. But I know that those guys are talented and they can do stuff like that. But for the average Joe like me to throw a ball even from 10 yards and hit the post is impossible.
Yep. It's funny. I was never a great thrower of the football, and I played a little bit of football when I was younger, but I could tell everybody else was getting bigger than me. And I was like, okay, well, this little golf ball it's easier to hit than to get hit. So I kind of started focusing on golf, and it worked out okay for me there. But I wanted to play football, but I wasn't that good at it. I was getting pushed around. As I got older, I started getting pushed around more. And I started out as a quarterback and as a little kid, and then I couldn't make the throws as I got older. And I was like, okay, this is not the sport for me. I'm becoming below average. I just don't have the.
When I was a kid and intramurals, I loved being the safety. I loved the defense, and my mother was not a believer in contact sports, so that went by the wayside very quickly.
All right, so I understand that. So 40, let's see. So you're at 28. What'd you say, 28 to what? How many points?
28-7.
7, you're giving them 7. I got you. I could see them staying within single digits. I almost went 7 because I don't know. Well, I feel like they'll kick a field goal at some point just to get some points. I could see us giving up a field goal to them pretty easily.
Jay, I'm hoping for the defense to come into this season with something to prove. And you better start on game 1.
Mr. O'Neill, I got this, I think, at Dick's Sporting Goods, I believe. This one's a couple of years old, probably 2 or 3 years old. He was asking about the shirt, the dark gray. I like all the looks. I'll go ahead and tell you, when it comes to the Vols, I like their Halloween look. I like the dark gray. I like the standard, traditional. I like it all. I think our uniforms are outstanding, and I think it also helps us with recruiting because uniforms matter to these kids. They like that flashy orange and the way it transitions against all the other colors. And I'm sure you, as a professional graphic artist, those colors matter. They're easier to probably work with and get people excited. So I think we've got great colors. And it's it's a 151 orange or something, I think it's called, that we have. It's a special orange.
Okay.
So anyway, uniforms is a big thing. People talk about it a lot. It's a popularity thing.
I wasn't sure how I'd feel about the orange helmets, but the orange helmets were sharp.
Yeah. I love all the looks. I just do. And I know not everybody does. Some people like the traditional stuff. I like the traditional too. I just like it all. I like the different looks though all throughout the year. It just makes it more fun. And let's see. Also, we're going to talk about, of course, we're going to play Austin Peay, the second game, and that'll just be kind of a little warm up, getting ready for Florida. And then I think the season starts that third game. I think that is the critical game. And we're going to see a lot here in 2 days because Florida's going to play Utah. And Utah may not even have their first or second string quarterback playing. They may be to third string because their one guy's coming off an ACL. The second guy, I think, hurt his shoulder or something along those lines. So we're going to see a lot of this Graham Mertz against a good, solid defense. And it's at Salt Lake City. So I keep up, if you've watched this channel, I keep up with the Gators big time because they are my nemesis ever since that dadgum Steve Spurrier cost us 2 natties and kept Peyton Manning from being on Mount Rushmore up here. And I've never let it go. And I actually like Steve Spurrier. I think he's funny as crap, but he loved giving us grief. It's one of those that you love to hate him type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
I miss that great, bad guy.
Yeah,
we don't have that much anymore. Like Billy's too professional as far as he won't talk smack. I kind of want Lane Kiffin to be the head coach of Florida one day. I think he'd be the perfect bad guy, the Darth Vader of the SEC, especially at Florida for me, and it'd be like the new Steve Spurrier 2.0.
That's like a curse word. I hate Lane Kiffin.
Oh, I know. Believe me.
Yeah.
I give Lane is my personal punching bag on this channel. If you've watched enough of my videos, I never cut that guy the slightest bit of slack. I wear him out every chance I get because he's the guy that he put us down this path. I blame him for a lot of this because had he not walked out in the middle of the night the day before National Signing Day, by the way, the day before, worst time to possibly leave, tried to take a bunch of his commits with him, and then we're stuck without a coach. We've got to make this stupid hire. We get Dooley because of his last name. The guy had a losing record at Louisiana Tech, but we hired him because his last name was Dooley, and that just put us down a terrible path after that. Yeah. So I never cut him any slack.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see what some of these folks are saying in here. Let's see. Oh, who wins against? Oh, yeah. Smash the like button. Absolutely. Here's a good question. Who wins, Florida or Utah? I was going to say Utah by at least 7, but it depends on who the quarterback is. I feel like Utah's going to pull it out, though, 21-17. For some reason, it feels like it's going to be a one-score game, and Florida's not going to be able to put enough points on the board because they just don't – they don't have a dual-threat quarterback, and I don't think that quarterback's that good. I think he's okay. You know, he's a talented guy, but I don't think he's going to be able to put up the big numbers. He certainly didn't at Wisconsin for 2 years, and he was the starter there. And he throws a lot of interceptions. So that's how I think that game's going to go. I think they're barely going to squeak out a victory. And Florida's – it's not going to change anything, though. When we play them, I promise you, they're going to come out like lunatics and psychopaths to beat us. And it's going to be one of the most violent games in the first couple of quarters you've ever seen, because their back's against the wall. They're tired of having 2 losing seasons in a row. They're tired of people talking smack about them. I'm one of those guys. So, and I'm going to have to eat some crow if we don't win that game. And it's not going to be.
I'm going to try a little bit of reverse psychology here. I first of all, with the injuries with Utah, I'm thinking Florida actually has a chance. But before that, I would have not picked Florida to beat Utah. But I kind of am hoping that Florida does win because of the quarterback situation, and comes into the swamp for our game with a false sense of security.
I can see that. I can see that.
I don't necessarily think Florida is that great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they always seem to play us just like last year. They played us close when they really should not have been playing us close. But I kind of hope that Utah does lose to Florida, and they just a little bit overconfident.
That's what happened to them last year. Remember, they won that game down there in Gainesville, and Anthony Richardson looked like the real deal Holyfield. I thought, oh my gosh, this guy's going to win the Heisman. He played fantastic in that game and carried them. And then everybody thought, oh, this Florida's back. We're back. And they wind up, and they played okay there for a while during the season. And then they ended the season horribly. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to, who else beat them? They got killed by Oregon State in the bowl game. And see, they didn't have Richardson in that game. They couldn't score a point.
They lost to Missouri.
Did they lose to Missouri too? And
I think
I'm trying to remember the end of the thing. They lost to Vanderbilt. Oh, Florida State. Florida State, their nemesis.
Right.
Which was a horrible loss for them because, see, we think we've got big-time rivalries, and we do. Alabama, Florida, et cetera, Georgia. But we don't have to live with those folks. When you live in the same city and half the city can't stand the Vols and half the city, is the other way around, it makes for a very aggressive rivalry that you see with South Carolina, Clemson, Alabama and Auburn, and, of course, Florida and Florida State. So losing to Florida State was hard for Florida. That was very painful. Absolutely. It'll still be painful for us if we lose to Florida, though. It'll be terrible for me. I don't know that it'll be awful for me if we lose to them because I've worn them out.
Well, Jay, back in the day when you and I were students, I mean, it was nothing for us to stomp Florida.
Oh, yeah. I know. I didn't even think about it.
Right.
It wasn't until that dadgum Spurrier showed up, and he changed everything for them. They were crap before he showed up. And then all of a sudden, they're like our biggest problem. And if not been for Florida, Peyton wins the Heisman probably twice and gets 2 natties. So we should have had 3 national championships during that whole period of time there, not one. And even though the one we got, we were fortunate because of the Arkansas fumble, which I'll never forget that. But that game was over. That game was over.
Jay, I was there. I did not have tickets to that game. I scalped tickets off Cumberland Avenue. It was pouring the rain. Not only did I stumble across this guy that had 50-yard line tickets, but they were underneath the press box. And 4 guys in front of me were, I don't know if they were parents of the players or what, but they were all from Arkansas. And you could hear them talking, and they were calling the plays before they would actually happen. And I couldn't even tell you what they said because there were some strange things that they were saying. And late in the fourth quarter, I was like, I cannot believe that our undefeated season is going down the tubes. And then, of course, that ball getting stuck in the mud. Oh my gosh, I lost my mind.
What is
Greatest game ever.
I can kind of remember that guy's name. Was it Hoyer Stan? I cannot remember the guy. You folks out there, you'll remember his name. The quarterback for Arkansas that fumbled that ball. And he was playing great, by the way. He was playing a really quality game, and he was kind of putting a whooping on us. And he made that fumble changed everything. And then we got the ball, and Fulmer just ran the ball down their throats. I mean, he got that offensive line squared away and said, we're going to ram it down their throats. And I don't think he passed it a single time. He just boom, 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 boom. And we were getting 5, 6, 7 yards every carry. Clint, here we go. Yeah, there. Clint Sterner, that's it. Clint Sterner. Thank you, Clint, for that fumble.
That's
Thank you, Michael.
Clint Sterner still thinks about that fumble.
Oh gosh,
because Arkansas was undefeated.
Exactly. They might have won the national championship.
That's right. So, we've got Florida to stop Tennessee for the national championship, and Arkansas has us to hate because of preventing their natting.
Yep. Thank you, Wesley. I appreciate that. And yeah, that was crazy. The Clint Sterner, and you've got to get a little lucky to win a national championship. See, everybody thinks Georgia they've got a rabbit's foot. I'm telling you. Alabama loses both of their wide receivers, and that in the playoff, they wore Georgia out before those guys got hurt, and they lost both of their superstar wide receivers, and suddenly Alabama couldn't move it against them. And then the same thing happened last year with Ohio State, had them 2 touchdowns down, and they had that amazing wide receiver that they could not stop. They literally couldn't do anything with him, and he got hurt, and all of a sudden they couldn't move the ball anymore. And I'm sitting here going, Georgia's the luckiest. I mean, it's just you got to get lucky to win a national championship these days.
Well, Phil Fulmer said that exact thing. He said you got to be good, and you better have some luck.
Absolutely, things got to fall your way, whether it's an injury, whether it's a fumble, whatever it might be, because it's so hard to win the entire thing. And I think I'm thrilled about. I know not everybody is thrilled about the 12-team playoff, but I think that helps the Vols the most. Because we're always playing Georgia and Alabama. Every year we play Georgia and Alabama. Those are the top 2 teams the last 10 years, and we always play them. So it makes it really hard for us to get into a 4-team playoff because we're going to lose one or both of those games every year, and these other teams don't have to play them. It really gets to me when Clemson gets to glide into the Final Four, and they never play a top 10 team. You got to be kidding me. We're playing the number 2 team.
Going to be even worse next year when the conference expands and the divisions disappear.
Well, here's the good thing, though. We'll have 12 teams. So even if you've got 1 or 2 losses, you can still get in there. And I think Tennessee will be the toughest matchup in a playoff situation because if we're playing Oregon or we're playing Washington, they've never seen our offense coming at you like it does. And I don't think you can just on the fly get ready for something like that. Georgia had 2 things going for it. 11 5-stars basically out there, or high 4-stars, and they had 90,000 people yelling and screaming and keeping our guys off of their momentum and getting 6 offsides or whatever the crap it was, false starts. That was huge. So that was the only team that stopped the Vols last year. And
I see in the chat we've got some fans from other teams. It's funny to watch people who are not fans of the Vols on your channel, Jay. They're in there.
I get quite a few of them.
Yeah,
I get a lot in the comments. I do. I usually try to. I never give them too much grief because I give some of these teams, like if you're a Florida fan, I know I'm giving you a ton of grief when I do those videos. I mean, I get it, but it's a personal thing. And it has everything to do with Steve Spurrier. Don't take it personal yourself. If you're a Florida fan, it's all about Steve Spurrier and what.
That's okay. We're going to see some Gator tears this year in Florida.
Oh, that game's going to be awesome. And then we get Georgia up here, and I have called for an upset. I think that's going to be their one loss this year. Is going to be us beating them at Neyland, and I think it's going to be similar to Alabama because we're the only possible loss in their ridiculously easy schedule. Which how in the world it's just shocking to me how they got such an easy schedule, which is impossible in the SEC. We're their toughest game by far, and especially at Neyland. So, and I know that that's a hot take, and they're going to be favored by 2 touchdowns. I get all that, but it's just a feeling that when we get them up here, and they've got their new offensive coordinator, Bobo, who I'm not sold that he's anywhere near as good as Todd Monken. That Monken cat was an excellent. It's the best offensive coordinator that Georgia's ever had, in my opinion. He was fantastic. Right. So we'll see. They should have kept him.
That's all on Carson Beck. We'll see. I'm not so high on Carson Beck, so you might be right, Jay.
I tell you what, that dadgum little what's the name of that dadgum walk-on quarterback that had all that magic? He was tough. That guy, not only was he tricky, he was fast and elusive. Man, there was so many times where we could have sacked him, and somehow he was much faster and quicker and smarter with the football than a lot of people realize. DoorDash Bennett or whatever they call him. Yep. I think he's going to make it in the NFL somewhere, whether it's a backup, whether he winds up starting somewhere. And he's not big enough, but he's got. I tell you what, he throws a mean football, and he's got that dual threat that the NFL likes. He'll probably make it if he can stay out of the bars at night and quit knocking on people's doors at 4:00 in the morning.
In Dallas.
Yeah, exactly. That was ridiculous. What he did was he was partying it like it was 1999 for about a month after winning that second national title. Yeah. He went on a party bus and just wouldn't get off of it.
His family was like, "What are you doing?"
Oh yeah, I'm sure they had to sit down with him. And
I think your career. He took a page out of the Johnny Manziel book that night.
Yeah, and that Johnny Manziel, that's another guy that he ruined his career. Now, I hope that Bennett does not do that, but Manziel was something special at Texas A&M. I tell you, he played like – it was crazy how good he was, and then he partied his life away. So it was unfortunate, but I kind of liked him too, is the shame, because he was he's a guy you could kind of root for. He was little, he was the underdog. He was a 2-star. Teams didn't want him, and he just, I don't know. It's a guy you could get behind, but then he just kind of screwed it all up. Johnny Football. Yeah, he was Johnny Football. No doubt.
He was good.
It says, here's somebody that says, wait a minute. Sorry. Where is it? I was talking about Bennett. Maybe this is it. No. Where is it? It said Bennett's doing well for the it might have just disappeared. But anyway, he said Bennett's playing well for the Los Angeles Rams. So that's pretty cool. He might. I wouldn't be surprised.
He didn't do anything that made me have any long-term negative thoughts about the guy. I like an underdog. He was a walk-on, came out of I think community college, JUCO, something, and eventually got to the top of his game and won 2 natties. What's the hate about that? If you like the underdog, so I'll tip my hat to the guy, and he's doing well. I hope he does great.
This guy says, Florida, I know you're not scared. Yeah. I still like putting out a video saying you are, though, because I think you are a little bit. I think you are a little bit. A little bit.
Yeah, you know that meme of Kermit the Frog just hammering away on the typewriter. That's Adam. He's in the chat right now, typing as fast as he can.
I'll tell you what, I showed 2 YouTubers, and they're actually really good YouTubers. One of them's called High Top Sports, and the other one's called Peek into the Vols. Not Peek into the Gators, Allie Peek. And she's a very nice person, and so is the other guy. And I give them a lot of grief, and I kind of make sport of them little takes that they do and all that kind of crap. But they're not picking the Gators to win. They went 50-50, and the other guy, I think High Top, went toss-up. And I'm going, let me see if I got this straight. You've won the last 10 times at the Swamp. We're playing at 7 o'clock at night, and you won't go to 51%. Give me a break. So there's some fear there.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I'm at 2/3. I think we have a 2/3 chance of beating them.
so Jay, you think that the Gator fans, we can now say that they've got battered Gator syndrome?
They're getting close.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the last several years, it hadn't been going their way, and two losing seasons in a row will put a hurting on your pride. It's hard to have two, because then you've got teams like us running our mouth, bringing it up every 5 seconds, and then they lost to Florida State, and that hurt because those Florida State folks have not let them forget it. They've had bragging rights for almost a year, and that's tough because they're living with them and seeing them every day. And then they didn't score against Oregon State except for some little last-second ridiculous field goal. So, and they lost to Vanderbilt. You lose to Vanderbilt, you got to be kidding me.
Well,
and I hate to sit there and get on Vanderbilt too much because they're at such a disadvantage because of how difficult it is to get into Vanderbilt and what a fine school it is. But they're at a disadvantage, just like Georgia Tech is, being an engineering school. It's just, it's not fair. So it's not – I give them a little bit of grief, but I always try to soften the blow a little bit. And I am glad they won a national championship in baseball. I rooted for them on that. I'm like, man, y'all need a national championship, and they got one.
Tennessee has also lost to Vanderbilt in our last, streak of, 10, 15 plus years.
We lost 4 out of 10 at one point.
Yeah. If we do lose to Vanderbilt, you literally, it's the worst because this is the last game of the season. You lose to the bottom of the SEC, and it's truly just go and hide until next football season. You don't even want to talk about football until we start.
Butch Jones lost the SEC championship over. He had the East in the hand, just like that. Yep. And he loses to Vanderbilt last game. And that was the most brutal loss that I can remember in a long time. And I just couldn't believe it. And we had, Josh Dobbs, who he really kind of carried Butch for a few years there because we didn't have a very good offensive line, but he was the greatest runner as a quarterback that I'd seen, other than maybe, like a Michael Vick or something like that. He was very special. And I didn't realize how big he was, but I saw a picture of him shaking the hands of Peyton Manning, and Peyton looked like this skinny guy. And Dobbs looked like a wrestler. He was wide and big, and I couldn't understand why he was always able to get out of those arm tackles. He's just a big, strong dude.
Yeah.
And on top of it, a rocket scientist.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Smart dude. Probably the smartest guy on the field, including all the coaches. So that was an awesome guy to have. And we didn't. I remember when he left, I thought, well, we're going to be okay, even though he's great. And I loved him. His arm wasn't that good. And I thought, well, we got this other guy. He's got a better arm. It'll probably offset. No, it did not. We were terrible after Dobbs left. And our entire team got exposed for what they were. Butch Jones went down the tubes. And I think we won 3 games or 4 games that year, and he was gone. And that was the end of that. And then, good grief, the Jeremy Pruitt situation and all that. And that whole had to fire the athletic director, and it's just a big mess all the way across the board. Let's see. Stuck in the past. Yeah, I know it. I may be a little stuck in the past, one person says. I like the past, though. I like talking about it. See, Florida goes 7-5. See, I think Florida's going to win 6 games this year. I've got them at 6-6. A lot of people have them winning 3 and 4 games. I don't see that. They've got too much talent down there. And Napier's not that bad a coach. He's won big time at Louisiana Tech, which I know Louisiana Tech's not some great school, but look, he does know how to win. So we'll see how it goes. So let's see what else we have not talked about. We've talked about the quarterbacks. Our running back room, I'm thrilled with. Right. I think we've got one of the best running back rooms in the country. We might not have the best running back. That would probably be Judkins at Ole Miss, and there's some couple other guys that are really good. But as far as a whole, we've got 3 fantastic running backs, and then we've got Cameron Selden behind that, which I don't know what they're going to do with him, but they'll find a spot for that dude. He is a wrecking crew. Runs a sub-4 440 and 210 pounds and can catch the ball, is elusive as can be. He's got great skills. that guy's going to find the field just like Arian Carter is. We're going to see some freshmen this year. I thought that was a fantastic class. I know it got ranked 11th, but I think in hindsight, we're going to look back in a few years and realize that was a fantastic class for us because we've got some real difference makers as freshmen this year.
Well, you picked on Boogie's channel last night, Talking Vols. You guys were talking about who's going to score the first points of the season. I couldn't believe you didn't pick Jabari Small.
I was going to, but it wasn't a fun pick. I wanted Squirrel White 65 yards, but Jabari probably the best pick, or the any of the running backs, but probably the starters would be the way to go. But that was kind of boring. I wanted to put something out there that was a little spicy. Plus, I would love to see a 65, 70-yard pass play just to watch the announcers go nuts over Joe's arm and all this and, start talking about the Heisman and all that kind of crap.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean, obviously from a production standpoint, we all want the whole myth of overthrow Joe to go away and we need to see his accuracy improve. And I'm sure his confidence has improved. I hope that all this hype behind Joe Milton isn't going to go to his head a little bit, but sure. Yeah. A 65-yard bomb early to just show that he can, get it in there and take over where Hendon left off. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think his confidence is pretty high. I can tell you this much as somebody that has played high level athletics and on college level, if you're not going to go out there and play to that level unless you're confident, I'm sorry, you're just not. Because when that spotlight's on you, you'd better believe in yourself big time. Because I'm telling you, your hands will start shaking, and once that starts going down, bad things can happen. And he looked calm to me. Now, he might not have been inside. He was probably very excited, but he made some throws, and he didn't overthrow the ball very much in that game. And I've seen athletes do that where they've struggled, and then all of a sudden they have some key game, some really important game, and they play really well, and all of a sudden their confidence kind of clicks. And I feel like that's why he stayed. I think he stayed because he saw that Josh Heupel puts you in a position of success, and then as you get that success, your confidence builds. And I think he needed that, and I think he knew he needed that. Otherwise, why didn't he leave? It made no sense for him to stay under the circumstances.
Well, I don't think we can underestimate the mentorship of Hendon Hooker when he spent time with Joe Milton. I really think that is going to help Joe's performance and Joe watching Hendon's success. It's nice to have a blueprint in front of you.
Yeah, that's true. He's really surrounded by some great guys, and that was probably another reason he didn't want to leave. Because he knew he could succeed in this offense.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, if I was a high school quarterback, and we've got a couple looking hard to come to UT, and one of them is George McIntyre, and the other one's Deuce Knight. And regardless of which one we get, they're both fantastic. That Deuce Knight, he is Hendon Hooker 2.0. I'm telling you, I watched him play the entire high school game against IMG Academy, and IMG is a college team. It's full of 4 and 5 stars that are going to play at all the big schools. He was calm. He was cool. He was completely overmatched. They could not run the ball. They were all over him. He made some really nice passes. He ran the ball beautifully, and he's fast as lightning. So I'm very high on Deuce Knight, but George McIntyre is a 5-star, legit with a magic arm. They both live in Tennessee now, so they're both in-state kids.
Is George the one that's out of Brentwood?
He's out of – I cannot remember the exact place that he's at. I know the one kid's out of Lipscomb, which is around Nashville, and they're going to play each other this year.
So at Brentwood, I think.
Yeah, McIntyre and Deuce Knight will end up playing each other. They're in the same conference, I guess, which will be – you talking about having some eyeballs on a game.
Right.
So that'll be pretty interesting. And I just enjoy recruiting. I know not everybody does, but I enjoy it because it's fascinating to me because it's so important in the SEC. I mean, if you're going to beat Georgia and Alabama, you've got to at least be close to the talent level they have. otherwise, they're just going to push you around. It's not going to matter. I don't care how good your scheme is, because that dadgum guy they had on the defensive line, I can't remember his name, that pushed in our offensive line and just went right into Hendon Hooker's lap every play, and he wound up going like 4th or 5th or whatever in the draft. That guy was a difference maker, and those are the type of players that you need to have if you're going to beat a Georgia, especially at home, at their home. So,
hey Jay, what do you think about the Saban dynasty? Is it dwindling? You think it's sunset?
I'm not ready to do that yet with him. I'm not ready because he's a very dangerous man right now.
Yeah,
he's angry. He's very angry, and he feels disrespected.
He's
got all that talent. You know, he got 9 5-stars last year,
right.
9, which is unbelievable. That class was crazy. And he brought in a new – I don't like that offensive and defensive coordinators that he brought in. I don't think – they're not outstanding. So that's going to be interesting. Their quarterback situation, they're not going to have some superstar quarterback this year. Right. So but I just – it's hard.
If anybody can do something with nothing, Saban can definitely do it. But the reasons that you just expressed were what I was going to bring up. And so I'm really kind of hoping – man, how great would it be to see an Alabama team with 3 losses?
I want him to retire. You know, he just bought an $18 million house down in Jupiter, Florida, I believe it is.
Right.
And, of course, I did a show on that he may retire.
Right.
Because I secretly want that. Well, not so secretly want him to retire. And he's won enough. He's got 7 natties, one of which was from Louisiana and 6 at Alabama. That's enough. You've had enough. We all know you're great. You're the GOAT.
Yep.
Just walk away. Just walk away. I need Humongous. Where's Humongous? Just walk away. It's time to go.
Oh,
I want him to do that, but I'm afraid he's so competitive.
Yeah. You can't count the guy out, that's for sure. I mean, even when we beat them this year, I mean, we were stomping them to death, and boy, they climbed and climbed and climbed until they tied the game. It's frustrating to watch that.
Yeah, but Bryce Young. Well, that was Bryce Young was a big part of it too.
Oh yeah,
that guy played. He deserved to win that game. He played heroically, and he was hurt, and we smashed him. I mean, we knocked him around like a bowling ball pin, and somehow he kept getting up. It was like Rocky. It was like watching Rocky. I was like, what are we going to hear? Dun, 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 dun. He comes up and throws a touchdown. And I'm going, you got to be another one. We were killing them.
I can tell you this, the Arkansas game in 1998 is kind of, as far as I know, widely considered to be the greatest game ever played in Neyland Stadium. And I would agree. But that game, the Alabama game last year, is right on its heels. And the only reason it wouldn't be is because we didn't turn it around into a natty. But it was an exceptional game.
Yeah, that was something else. That was so therapeutic for all the battered Vols syndrome people out there. See, I was happy getting Florida off our back. And then I was shocked that we just whooped up on LSU down there.
Oh, yeah.
I think we got a little lucky that it was at 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock Central, and they didn't quite have it all back together yet. It was the first season for that coach, and he struggled a little bit at first, kind of getting his system in there. And then we just jumped them. I mean, we jumped them hard and just beat them to death. It was at 41-10 or something crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I just couldn't believe it. And I was like, okay, something weird's happening here. And then beat Alabama, went 8-0, and beat Kentucky down. I mean, we beat Kentucky. We drug them up and down the field like a rented mule the entire game. It is just and then Georgia finally got a hold of us. What a magical 8 games though that was.
Oh yeah. It was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting to the end of this thing here. We got about a minute to go. We said we're going to go about an hour. First thing I want to do, I want to thank Kevin for coming on the show. I really wanted y'all to meet this guy. I thought very interesting person, his background and all that, and wanted you to meet the person that had helped me on this intro and also helped BVD. And it sounds like he's going to do something for Boogie. So, you know, he's a good dude and a big-time Vol fan, and I thought y'all would enjoy meeting him. and obviously got a big heart because he didn't charge me a thing for it. He just said, here you go. I couldn't afford to pay him anyway, but he was very nice about that and kind. And he did the same thing for BVD. So anyway, I just wanted y'all to meet this dude, and I knew it'd be a good show with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. If anybody would like to get in touch with me, you can email me at kevin@gentry.com. You can also go to my website. It hasn't been updated in a while, but I've got a picture of it right here. And I'd love to talk to you if you have a project or something you want me to do. It's not my full-time job, so just be patient, but I usually turn things around pretty quick. And I, to be honest, I don't really do a lot of pro bono work unless I just find something that interests me. Sports Talk Jay interested me. I think he's got something really good going on, and I've been following Boogie and those guys, and they kind of I saw BVD over on Boogie's channel, and ultimately BVD got in touch with me, that kind of thing. But anyway, something just for me to gather some interest from the viewers. And again, thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. I look forward to staying in touch with you and following you all season.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, I didn't mean to come out and just blurt that out, but it was such a kindness that I really appreciated it.
No
and
problem.
obviously a good dude and a good Vols fan. And I'm sure we'll be talking again. And I'd like to have him on again when I have some other folks and throughout the year, because he obviously knows a ton about football and loves his Vols. But anyway, I appreciate y'all being here, and we will catch you next time on Sports Talk Jay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right. Ending the broadcast.